Can you, I'm sorry.
Sorry, my name's Pete Malla. I'm a developer, and I just wanted to build upon the gentleman from the Clifton Town Council, because I have a concern how form-based code is just not one more regulation for a developer to deal with. Now we're regulating our built environment, exactly what we have to build, on top of the zoning code, which regulates our uses, on top of the subdivision regulations, on top of CWW, MS, Duke Energy, and that list goes on, where each one of those different sets of regulations control the built environment.
Well, actually, and that's a great point, but the truth of the matter is that if you adopt a form-based code, regardless of whether it's as an overlay or in a different fashion, you may have the underlying zoning intact, but you don't have the subdivision regulations, you don't have any of that stuff. And in terms of use, part of the purpose of form-based codes, you know, and this is particularly true when you're looking at corridors or business districts or areas of, you know, as Bobby showed on his, the kind of area that you've selected. Use is flexible within the context of a mixed-use, walkable urban development. And so, and I keep saying this because I know that there's always this tendency of people to, whether they're from on an administrative side or sometimes the community side or sometimes even the developer side, you know, at the end of this process, if you have a form-based code and you still have to worry about variances and conditional uses, then you failed. You know? And that's the truth. Because it is not supposed to be add more complications and more layers. It is actually to strip away the layers and have a consensus vision that isn't just this pie in the sky, but it is actually worked out in a dynamic, interactive process with the developer that is agreed to, so that when it's agreed to, you can do it. And there's no more fighting about it. You fight during the charrettes, and you fight, you know, as you're working it out and hammering it out. You don't fight once the green light has been given. So, I said 3 more questions before. So, okay, but this is it. We have 3 people raising, and then we'll answer those, but that's it. Okay, going to Fred, and then we're going to go to Marvin, and then we're going to Papa.
How long or quickly did the Gateway Quarter come together?
I wasn't able to give you the full. In fact, if you ever want to come down, and I'll give you a tour on Saturday morning, so you can see some of this stuff for yourself, I'd love to do it. In fact, I missed some of the Marvin, some of the anchors that are also there that I don't have time to mention. 3CDC. The reality is 3CDC has been involved since 2003, 2004 land banking. We started building, let's see, we closed our first construction loan in 2006. We opened our sales center in March of 2007, and most of that activity has happened since March of 2007. So pretty fast.
Marvin?
I'm Marvin Krause. I'm from Cincinnati. I'm still a little lost about this form-based codes. In my hypothetical community, we first dealt with zoning. So we have a zoning for this business district that is pedestrian friendly. Okay, that's what you're all pushing. And secondly, we have an urban design overlay, which deals with the look, which I understand is very important in form-based codes. So if we dealt with the look and we dealt with the use, what is different with this form-based code?
What's different is, Marvin, well, actually, Marvin, I'm going to, and this is in fairness to everybody else who's here, is that if you want to learn about form-based codes, we'll actually go back and we'll do another presentation on form-based codes for you guys. But the majority of the folks here have actually been sitting through once a month sessions on form-based codes. And so we're not going to go back and do that today, since that's not the focus of this discussion. And we're happy to do it again for another group of people. So hold that thought, and we'll come back to you on that. Melba.
I'd like to know about, I'm Melba Gwynn from Westwood. You know, the basis, I believe, that is stopping the whole city from being able to really go forward, because we got a fantastic city, is the fact of crime. And one thing that we definitely need is a jail, a big jail that everybody, there's room for everybody in it that wants to misbehave. And you know, no more extra programs, because quite frankly, cities are emptying out their jails because they can't keep all the people. We've got the programs that are going to attract maybe 60,000 more people out of California, or you know, however many out of New York that they can't keep. They will come here and increase our population. Before we build a trolley track downtown, which you know, I think that's a great idea, but right now the first bullets that fly around that downtown, that's dead. You know, people aren't going to go down there. Can we get some help with maybe promoting a big jail first, and then, you know, get a city where people feel safe on the streets, feel safe within their neighborhoods? We're not shifting the criminal element from downtown to Westwood or to Price Hill or other communities. We work in the entirety of our city, because it is a wonderful city. Every neighborhood is a wonderful neighborhood. And we've got people that are so involved trying to make it better, that first we take the things we need to do first. And quite frankly, right now, that's a big jail. So anybody that comes here realizes, if you don't behave, we got a place for you. That's just, you know, can we, I mean...
If we're on tape, can we say our lack of silence is not support of that view? Amen. Yeah.
Well, I think there are lots of issues, and we could discuss streetcars, we could discuss a new jail. I think that Scott would argue, and not to put words in his mouth, that there's a substantive difference in terms of the economic impact of a streetcar versus a jail. On the other hand, you could argue that crime itself has an economic impact, and so, you know, and so it is an issue that merits discussion. But we are now at 5 after 11. A couple things that everybody should be aware of. The RFP has gone out for the consultants for the form-based code, and they should be back, Valerie, by the end of the month. Is that correct? By the 17th, and then there'll be a selection process. And so by the time we meet again, we should actually, if not know who the consultant is going to be, at least know what the short list is at that point. Also, the Planning Commission yesterday approved new language for interim development control districts that actually allow communities that may not have a formal approved plan, but who are in the process of studying zoning changes, potentially looking at, I forget all the language, that to give some flexibilities, and so that would some flexibility, and so that would be applicable to many of the neighborhoods that are interested in undertaking a form-based code process. It has to go now to council, and so will be in economic development, and then hopefully pass out of there, and then on to city council. So those are like the two major updates, I think, right now. We're going to put together another panel or presentation or whatever next week, not next week, next month, based upon the feedback you all had given at the last meeting in terms of what you're actually interested in hearing and learning about. It may be on streets and fundamentals of how the city approaches street design and what are some of the changes that may be necessary. If we can put that one together, that's our first preference. If not, then we'll go to the kind of third, fourth preference that everybody expressed at the meeting a month ago.